Hello, beer tubers, and welcome to yet another Throwback Thursday with me, Peter, the master of hoppets, throwing back with some kind of old school English beer. We got 2 pints even, because I wanted to see the difference, really. So we're checking out a beer that I haven't had in ages, that I used to love when I just started my beer journey, and we're checking out none other than Young's Double Chocolate Stout. So I reviewed this years ago, and I had it loads of time before I reviewed it and was a big fan for a long time. When we did the review, I was well into my craft beer journey and had experienced a lot of more oomphy stouts, and it just didn't cut it for me. I thought it was okay, but and also the grades back then, I had a tendency to rate much lower because I looked at the grade system like the averages in the Danish school system. So it's quite different towards compared to how you'd grade in, say, a wine or beer competition, with 50% usually being the minimum to pass. But we got these. I saw them locally, and I've been thinking for a while it'd be fun to revisit Young's Double Chocolate Stout, but I wanted the can, and I haven't seen the can with the nitrogen widget in years. So when I saw this, I was like, yeah, we'll get it with the widget and do the Guinness style one, and then try and just compare it to this. So they're the Young's Brewery. It used to be called Wells and Young's, and one of my favorite back then was, like, when I was getting into craft beer, one of my all-time favorite ESBs besides Fuller's was the ESB that they did at Wells, the Bombardier. I don't even know if any of the Wells beers are still being produced these days, but the Young's, so it's a merging of, it was original merging of the Wells and Young's Brewery that became Young's and Wells. So they had like the Young's brands, they had the Wells brands. But I can't remember when it was, but Marstons, probably the biggest like classical brewer in the UK, bought the brewery out. So it's owned by Marstons now. And one of the things that often happens with Marston products is that the quality often declines and it becomes like supermarket type classic English beer. There's loads of awesome classic English beers from small producers. That isn't just necessarily crazy craft beers, but there's also lots of stuff that's more mass produced. But it'll be interesting to see what I think of these. So I think we should start off with the bottled version. These are not bottle conditioned anymore. They used to be back in the day, which is, maybe a bit of a shame. It would last better on the shelf. The bottled version is 5.2%, and the canned version is 5.2%. I think there's often variations on like cask and keg and bottle and whatnot with beers like this. Is it even brewed? It's brewed at the Carlsberg Marstons Brewing. What, did Carlsberg buy out Marstons? Or make some agreement? If any of you guys know about that, please enlighten me. I had no clue. Okay. At the Eagle, it's got many different addresses for breweries. It's also brewed in Italy, it looks like, in Milan. So I'm guessing they produce it many places. Oh my god. We got some macro classic beer now. 5.2%, let's check out the bottle version first. So the thing is, they use like a chocolate flavoring to give this stout a chocolatey profile. And yeah, that's how it's always been, I think. I think there's also a bit of oats and whatnot in here, but let's check it out. It pours a fairly black color. The bottle version here, very flimsy head pouring out, but what was there was like tan looking. Yeah, let's check out the aroma on Young's Double Chocolate Stout. Wow, it smells even less chocolatey than I remember. It almost smells like there's no kind of chocolate addition. It's just like chocolate malt. And I think there used to be some kind of chocolate flavoring in there. It's super light. It's got like a dusty, toasty, roasty note. It's almost the same kind of light, toasty, roasty profile you find in Guinness. You can definitely smell that at least it's been changed to be something that's even more similar to something like Guinness. There's maybe a touch of vanilla. I definitely smell oats. And maybe the slightest touch of dark fruit. But it smells more like a quite classic British stout. Well, let's give it a taste. Cheers. Much less chocolate than I remember. Wow, there's like next to no chocolate flavor. It just tastes like a really light, like English stout. There's a little bit on the back end. So this is also not a crazy fresh bottle. This expires in February next year. And the can, oh damn, the can expires in December. So there you go. That's how it is. The company that imports these are notorious for selling beers that are not exactly dead fresh. Like I saw there was this. It's the same company that imports Stone, and I saw the Buena Vesa, I think it's called. And Stone is even not independent anymore. What's going on, man? But yeah, I heard a few people actually like that, and I had a look, and it was canned in 2021. Was it November or something? It's like it just got to the store. It's like, who would buy that? Like, what the hell? But yeah, there's no off flavors. There's not really anything off about it. I'm getting a little bit more of a chocolate vibe now, but it's somewhat watery and thin in the bottle. Charry, toasty, maybe lightly nutty, maybe lightly dark fruity. I mean, it's really, really subtle nuances. Like, this is a type of stout where you just like, that sounded dirty, but you just kick back and drink a lot of. It's nothing special, really. Like, if you compare it to the chocolate stout, although I don't think that is like the world's best chocolate beer, but just a traditional brewer, Samuel Smith's chocolate stout has much more chocolate flavor than this. But let's jump on to the nitro version. So this was the one, along with the keg version, those were the varieties I enjoyed the most back in the day. And it looks the same, it just has that really rocky head that was even more rocky when I poured it out, and you can just see it looks creamier. Let's check out this one. More muted nose, but it's easier to smell in this glass right now. I'm actually getting more chocolate, but yeah, maybe a little bit more vanilla-y and whatnot, but it's really muted, the nose. It's also like the difference between CO2 and the nitrogen widgets. When the CO2 is in the beer, that really helps lift aromas. Nitrogen doesn't really. So that's why I also like you really got to get your nose in there to smell beers like this. There is a bit of chocolate. It smells very similar, but it just smells maybe like, because, I don't know, maybe it's just because I know it's going to be more creamy. It smells like it has like a bit more oaty, creamy sweetness or something like that. But let's try it. Cheers. More chocolate, but it's the older product. Weird. Much more velvety, next to no carbonation, of course, because it's nitro. It feels like it's flat because of the tiny, tiny nitrogen bubbles, but it has that really luxurious, fluffy feel instead. The body's definitely better. Wow, night and day. This is way more acidic tasting as well. And that could just be the difference between carbon dioxide and nitrogen in beer. This feels more creamy and chocolatey. For sure more chocolatey, but nowhere near the levels of chocolate flavor I remember from back in the day. I'm 100% sure Marstons have changed recipes on beers like this. Everything has been tuned down to fit margins and fit prices on shelves. So you can probably sell these for like £1.20, something like that in the UK. I'm sure they're really cheap, and you can probably often get them on offer. So everything is just dialed down, and it's turned into more like a everyday working man's beer, and that's also totally fine. But there's just other products that are cheap that I'd rather drink than this. Although I think the nitrogen widget version is decent, but to be honest, I'd rather have a pint of Guinness still. Or London Black. That was a crazy beer trying on tap. I regret I never got to do a video on that. It was one of the best nitrogen, like low strength stouts or porter. I think they call it. It's a porter, vanilla porter or something. Vanilla chocolate porter. It's just awesome. And Spatch and Hop Day makes it. It's really dope. I think Craft Beer Channel also just did a video on it. But it's okay. I mean, it's going down really quickly. It's inoffensive. If someone say they don't like stout, serve them this. I'm sure they'd like it. It's got a mild, sweet, vanilla-y, oaty flavor. The lightest touch of chocolate, but more than this. And then it has that velvety, luxurious feel. touch of toasty, roasty malt. Not really the same level of dark fruit as in this. And this could also just be because this is safe for oxygen. This isn't. So there's been oxygen in this bottle, even though there's a crown cap on it. Oxygen still leaks in, so you get a bit more of a dark fruity oxidized thing, even though it's the light nuances. I think that's part of it. And it's probably also part of the fact that it's with CO2 and not nitrogen. Rating-wise, let's see. I think I'll actually stick to my rating as I did back in the day and give it like a 70. It's an alright beer. It's something I'd give around the 3 mark, I think, on Untapped. It's inoffensive. It's just like, it's whatever. It's something like, if there was no other choice, I'd be happy to drink it, but it's not something I really, really want to check out again, necessarily. So, yeah. And for the bottled version, maybe a 60. I mean, it's not a failed beer by any means. Maybe a 65. But it's just not that appealing. It's just whatever beer, really. Which is a shame. This used to be held in such high regard by a lot of people, I think. And it just seems like it's a shadow of its former self. I know things have also really changed in the beer industry, but this is just boring. So that's my 2 cents. But yeah, if you guys had a chance to try Young's Double Chocolate Stout in recent times, let me know what you thought of it. Either the can or the bottle version or draft. It's probably even different on draft. And also, of course, depends on freshness. But if you had them, let me know. As always, remember to comment, subscribe, check out the Facebook fan page and Twitter and Instagram. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Ring the bell for future notifications about videos. And I'm going to say cheers in my favorite of the 2. And yeah, see you guys for another Throwback Thursday.